Here's my take on Game 12 of the World Championship match. Caruana with white in this last classical game. And the players repeated the Sveshnikov variation. Well, it was quite clear that Caruana wanted to go for a win in this final classical game instead of heading for the tiebreaks. What Carlsen's intentions were at this stage were unclear. But let's see from these next few moves and we can divine something. Well, first of all, Knight b8 was played by Carlsen in previous games in this match. And that's the regular move. Knight e7 is a little bit more unusual, but playable. Obviously, it takes time for the knight to kind of spin round and sort itself out. Which is the risk. Also, the knight is potentially more threatening on the king side, but it does leave black a little bit underdeveloped for the moment, which allows white to play queen a4, which is a sort of slightly disruptive move, but not the end of the world. So obviously devastation threatened with a knight check. So bishop d7 and queen b4 just creates a few problems. Black certainly doesn't want to take here. That'll give white a nice position advantage with the two bishops. So bishop f5. So black had to do this because of the threat to the d6. And the bishop isn't badly placed here, except that it prevents the f-pawn from advancing. h4 from Caruana. So things are starting to get a bit wacky. This has actually been played before. In a game just a few weeks ago in the Batumi Olympiad. Kramnik played this with white. Very interesting to see that. And his opponent played a6. A6 and then h5. It all went a bit wild. So Magnus has obviously done his homework and played h5 very quickly. Now here's an interesting moment which I think reveals something about the intentions of the players. So Caruana played queen a4. Obviously threatening this big check again, and the bishop came back and queen b4 and bishop f5. So Carlsen obviously in this line content with a draw. Well, he hasn't got much better there. The question was, would Caruana take the draw and head for the tiebreaks, or would he play on? Well, his intention was to play on and go for a win in this game. He played bishop e3 here. Bishop g5 is also interesting. It's not clear whether, and after f6 the bishop will come back to e3. It's not clear whether white particularly gains anything from that. Anyway, Caruana played bishop e3 straight away. And queen c7 from Carlsen, defending the pawn on b7. g3 looks like a good move because that knight now doesn't have any prospects on the king's side for the moment, so it has to redeploy somewhere more sensible. And now Caruana could play bishop e2, then this knight would redeploy. Now this kind of looks sensible for both sides in a sense. This knight has come back here where it's definitely on a better square. Controls these important squares or has influence over them. A slightly odd position because it's taken black's knights loads of moves to bounce around to d7, but then again the queen doesn't look so good on b4 because it blocks the b pawn. I suppose the problem with casting kingside is that black eventually, after bishop g6 and f4, f5, f4, will have something to hit at on the king side because white's pawns have advanced here. But that's possible to play like that. I can understand why Caruana was worried though, and after some time he thought and came up with f3. Carlsen bounced the knight back to a better square, and the knight came to e4. So that's Caruana's intention, putting the knight on e4, but it's not very successful, this idea. And here again, Castle's kingside is risky because of bishop g6 and f5. So Caruana decided to go queenside. Well, he is playing for a win here, and obviously casting on opposite sides creates more tension. It's going to be a greater likelihood of being able to generate an attack. Nevertheless, this one looks dubious. Dubious for white, that is. White's attack isn't going anywhere on the king side. Well, with the queen stuck over here, it doesn't look right at all. So this is why the rook swung on the second rank across to defend the king. But now Carlsen is taking the initiative, there's no doubt about it. If the knight goes to g5, which is really what it would like to do, then black is ready to break with e4 followed by a knight coming into the e5 square. So Caruana had to retreat the knight to f2, but this is obviously not ideal. White is going backwards, and those lovely pawns on f5 and e5 block out white's minor pieces. And this is looking really nice. Bishop can't retreat because of f4. So Caruana had to play f4 here. Here Carlsen had a really nice move. He went for a5, but b5 is strong and starts to open up the position. Now, first of all, we should say that can't be taken because of knight takes followed by queen takes rook. What about retreating that bishop? Well, then comes a5. Now, that pawn can't be taken. The queen would be trapped with bishop e8. So the queen retreats, but now b4 followed by b3, and white's king is opening up. Looks nice. So maybe black's best here, white's best is to exchange off bishop for knight, but that's obviously not ideal because then black is left with this dark squared bishop, and that will give black attacking chances down here. I mean, maybe even just bishop d6, and those pawns are potentially vulnerable as well. Black is definitely better with the two bishops. So b5 looks like a nice chance. But Carlsen said after the game that somehow he wasn't looking to sharpen the position. He wanted to keep control and perhaps little by little advance on white. And now e4. And now he bounced that bishop round via e8. So he's doing everything in little steps and making sure that all his pieces look nice before he starts to make a break somewhere. But he misses the boat. Here Carlsen could have played bishop a4. Now if b3, then this sacrifice is really inviting, because here the problem for white is that the bishop can't trade this one off. So these minor pieces look tremendous. Now a4 supports the knight obviously and makes room for the queen. Looks very strong for black. And after bishop a4, if the rook retreats, then once again this move b5 starts to open things up. If that's taken, queen b6 to recover the pawn. Now this is certainly promising for black. Black has a good initiative, but it's not completely clear. And I sort of understand why Magnus might have been reluctant to go in for this. You give up a pawn. White is still defending on the queen side. It's not so clear actually. That can still go wrong. Instead he played a4. Of course not a bad move, gaining space. But after queen b4, white has sort of stabilised things. And again, Magnus playing very calmly, step by step. He's not rushing things. So g6, just protecting this one, and that'll free the bishop to come here. Now Carlsen played rook a8 and offered a draw. Well, he had a time advantage. And also perhaps a promising position. But things aren't as good as they were. And in order for black to make progress here, this takes time and it takes a lot of care, and things can still go wrong. Caruana said after the game that he'd intended knight h3 to g5. And certainly things are evening up, because white will always have the possibility to throw in knight g5 into e6. And after the position opens, then d6 could be vulnerable. And also bishop d4 coming to trade bishops at some moment. Carlsen actually said after the game that he was thinking bishop d4. But actually there's a strong move here, knight d3. And bishop takes bishop, winning the two bishops. So bishop d4, not a good move. I suspect that after rook a8 and the draw offer, he'd sort of stopped calculating properly, actually. He was just sort of thinking the game was going to end. And Caruana did accept the draw after some minutes thought. I don't think Caruana wanted to play a draw today, but he said after the game that he was kind of relieved to get out, considering he had a poor position. Carlsen has been criticised very heavily by people, by lots of commentators online, for agreeing a draw in a better position. As said, here I don't think his advantage is really that significant. But I think more to the point, why did he agree a draw? Why did he go into this game with this kind of attitude? Well, I think he decided after game 10 that he wanted two draws and heading for the tiebreak. And I think we have to see his strategy as very consistent. So, draw in game 11 with white absolutely solid, and in game 12, clearly his whole attitude from the start was, I need a draw here. And it's very difficult to switch your mindset into playing for a win if you go into a game with a draw. In fact, I would even say it's dangerous to actually switch over into I'm playing for a win mode when in the back of your mind you have, I want a draw. I just want to head for the tiebreaks. Playing with two aims in mind is very dangerous in chess. I know this from my own experience. So I think he was just being very straightforward and very consequent with his intention to go for a draw and head for tiebreaks. Basically, he decided that after game 10, this is his best option of winning the match. And if he manages to win the match in the tiebreaks, then we'll have to applaud him for a very logical and very consequent decision. So there we are. It's very easy to criticise when you're not in his shoes. I mean, there's a lot of people criticising 12 draws, saying this is a terrible spectacle. Well, again, the players play within the match rules, and they're perfectly entitled to, and their job is not to entertain us, but to try and win this match. That's the only thing that they have to consider. So I think that's fair enough. In fact, I think it's difficult to question their fighting spirit, apart from this last game actually, when they've really been very hard-fought games. It's just, for us, it's unfortunate that we haven't had decisive games, but that's just the way things have gone. And I'm really looking forward to a tiebreak, actually. It's going to be incredibly tense, and that will be a fantastic spectacle. There's been a lot of talk about Carlsen, but not much talk about Caruana. What about him? Is he disappointed with this result? Well, as he said after the game, he's kind of relieved after having a slightly dubious position to get to the tiebreaks, actually. And although we can say that Magnus Carlsen generally is a much better rapid play player, in fact, their record against each other is even in rapid play. Going back to 2014, they've played several times, six times over the board, a couple of times online. I don't really count that. It's a very different kind of game. But 6 times they've played rapid play, and it's actually 3-all. So this is kind of interesting. And the way Fabiano's been playing in this match, so calmly, I would not write him off at all. Magnus, on paper, is the slight favourite. But let's see. I think it's going to be incredibly close. So, no doubt there'll be more comments on what I've just said here. But anyway, I look forward to Wednesday and keep viewing. Thanks a lot.